So the Weather Service saying 2021 was one of the hottest years on record. In fact, it stands at the 13th hottest year on record. Professor Francois Engelbrecht from the Global Change Institute at Wits University previously saying South Africa is going to become warmer and drier. And it seems, Prof, good morning to you, that your predictions, your crystal ball is correct. However, it worries me, though, because I imagine we're going to start talking about day zero droughts again shortly, aren't we?
Good morning, Gareth. Thanks for having me. Yes, 2021 was, across the entire world, on the average, the 5th warmest year on record. If we should look for the 7 warmest years ever measured by humans, since measurements began in 1850, we only have to look as far as the last 7 years. So global warming continues to be with us. It's in fact accelerating. And we are unfortunately steaming towards exceeding 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming, the first dangerous threshold of global warming, maybe as early as the early 2030s. So South Africa itself, of course, as you've just mentioned, also experienced a relatively warm year in 2021. But of course, we've had the effects of a La Nina event in South Africa. So we have lots of cloud cover and lots of rainfall in the summer rainfall region, especially since October. And because of that, we've not really recorded an absolutely extreme year in terms of temperature. So for us, it's a year of natural variability, good falls of rain, generally positive for South Africa. But unfortunately, the long-term trend for South Africa, so what we can expect for over the next 20 years is that the region will become even warmer, so drastically warmer still, and systematically also drier in both the summer and winter rainfall regions.
Prof, help me understand when we talk about this threshold that you mentioned, this 1.5 degree threshold. I think you said we could get there early 2030s. Sounds like a long way away, but in the world of climatology and the environment, 10 years is not long at all. What does that mean? What are we expecting globally? Are we going to start seeing polar ice caps disappearing? What about water security, which will then cause issues with food security, and so on and so forth? Just help me understand how severe that is.
Well, today as we speak, the climate is already about 1.1 degrees Celsius warmer than what it is supposed to be. That's now for the world on the average. And should the viewers switch on their televisions almost now any day of the year, they can see the evidence that 1.1 degrees Celsius of global warming has already changed the world. So already we can see more frequently occurring heat waves. We see these mega fires from California to the Cape South Coast, to Australia, to the European Mediterranean occurring more and more often. These extreme rainfall events are occurring more often. Just think what happened in the last year, say in Germany and in China and in the USA. So across the world, extreme weather events are already occurring more frequently. And at 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming, there will be further substantial increases in the number of extreme weather events occurring across the world. In our own region, it means that day zero type droughts are becoming more likely, starting in Cape Town, all along the Cape South Coast, but even in the Gauteng province of South Africa. So yes, a 1.5 degrees Celsius world, 1.5 degrees warmer than what it's supposed to be, is a world with more extreme weather events. And it's also a world where we may make climate change irreversible, in the sense that the melting of the Greenland ice cap and even the West Antarctic ice cap may become irreversible at 1.5 degrees Celsius of global warming. And of course, that means sea level rise impacting on us in our own lifetimes, but also on future generations.
Prof, let me leave this with us as last question to you. It's a bit of a doomsday prediction that you're looking at here. And it's not even a prediction, it's based on science. Obviously, I understand all of that. Is there anything we can do? Maybe let's focus on South Africa. We can't change the entire world as much as we think we can. What can we do in South Africa to try and stave off these day zero droughts and that scenario you just painted? Or is it actually too late if we're realistic about it?
It seems as if the world has left it too late to restrict global warming to below 1.5 degrees Celsius. That is starting to look really unlikely that we can accomplish that, because it means that we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions with 50% by 2030 That's with respect to present-day level. So I think we can all realize that getting rid of half of the world's coal emissions, for example, by 2050, and half of the emissions coming from oil is going to be extremely difficult. But every amount of global warming that we can prevent from occurring will help us in terms of reducing the events of extreme weather, for example. So what South Africa should do is to really be as ambitious as it can be in terms of reducing its own greenhouse gas emissions. And the target South Africa has set at the 26th conference of the parties back in November last year is that we will try to reduce our emissions with as much as 30% by 2030. So that means South Africa transitioning towards renewable energy within this decade. And that should be our target when it comes to contributing our part in terms of reducing climate change impacts into the future. The other thing we must do is that we should continuously look at the science and start to prepare for these events to the best of our ability. So we need to become increasingly prepared for more flash floods occurring, especially in the eastern parts of the country. We need to think about the possibility of an intense tropical cyclone reaching Maputo or the Limpopo River Basin in South Africa, or even Richards Bay. And of course, our disaster risk reduction plans for multi-year droughts. That should be our #1 priority, because those droughts will affect us more frequently over the next 20 years compared to the last 20 years.
Well, Professor, from your mouth to the ears of government, hopefully this might be enough to scare everybody to try and make the little changes that they can. The little changes make up the big changes. Prof. Francois Engelbrecht, I always appreciate your time in speaking to us. All helps to understand the science and what it means for us as well from the Global Change Institute. That's Professor Francois Engelbrecht.